Dinner in Hell, band, ladies and gentlemen.
The band, the dinner, and the hell-like atmosphere.
That's it. Was that the red lights you're talking about? This fog machines and shit? It's dope.
The red lava lamp with the lights out. It's pretty chill in here, gotta admit. Incense burning, as usual.
You believe this, audience?
We're gonna take your world. You're gonna escape your world for an hour and learn all about heads getting chopped off. Oh, is this too long? Take it.
Welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, the show where two amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I am one of your co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, Ron, the headsman Maiden.
Is that a freaking straight foreshadow right off the get?
Foreshadow.
Oh, I love it. I love this attitude, this new energy you're bringing.
This one, it feels good to get back to our roots. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And just talk about something as old-fashioned, simple, and fun as beheading.
You know, and here we are. It's episode 80. We're talking about how quick a beheading would end your life.
Mm-hmm.
And our very first episode, we talked about scaphism, where it took like 2 weeks to end your life. And it was from like bugs eating you, from honey poured on your face in a swamp, with you tied in a box, floating. Oh, here we go. We've really come around.
Yeah, this one is honestly designed in that manner.
Yeah.
It's designed to be humane.
Clean.
Also efficient.
But
humane and efficient. That's, I guess, a side effect.
You're going to need a basket.
Yeah, you got to
You're going to need a basket because the head's going to go tumbling.
Yeah.
If there's a basket there, boom, it's trapped, contained.
Yeah, it gets most of the spray and shit, probably.
Yeah.
Although the crowd's going to want to see that. It's what they're there for.
Oh, this episode's going to be a doozy, folks. Like Brad said, this is a freaking execution method.
You want to break it down for us, maybe?
Oh, my God. This thing is called a guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a guillotine because it's the last name of the person that designed it.
Yes.
Frickin' thing stands upright. 2 wooden posts with a groove in there for a blade to come down in a very quick manner. It's a heavy blade.
Oh, yeah.
And it's designed to sever the head clean off the shoulders.
One stroke.
So let's get down to the facts. Who freaking designed it? What country used it for the first time? Who copied off them? Bring it!
So there had been mentions of automatic execution machines since at least the early 13th century. Written in a novel at the time was a machine that would do much the same thing, except it was like a trick. Like, I'm going to get these three dudes to stick their heads through the wall to get a look at this beautiful view. And when they're least expecting it, shoom, this big wooden or steel blade would slide through all 3 of the holes and cut their heads off.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that was in a work of fiction, but clearly it was already in the imagining, the automatic execution by beheading.
Yeah.
Now, the first known construction that you would relate, I guess you would call this a precursor to before the guillotine.
Okay.
Is the Halifax gibbet. Maybe it's gibbet, but I think it's gibbet.
That's the Irish version, right? Is this in Ireland?
This is in England.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is there Irish ties to this? Is it like the victim Irish or something?
Yeah, they get down on this in Ireland too.
Yeah. This is England.
Yeah, it functioned the same way as the guillotine in your mind would, but this is a cruder machine. It didn't much have the impact of science like on it yet.
Wasn't sharpened. It was just dull.
Well, it kind of was like that because, I mean, it's not engineered like a guillotine blade is. This was just an axe head stuck onto the bottom of a giant wooden block.
hopefully it goes down straight.
Yeah, no.
Lined up.
Like, boom, 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 boom.
Hopefully it doesn't waver and just take you out by the shoulders.
Yeah.
Like chop.
Yeah, so we're talking the Halifax gibbet is a massive 4.5 meters tall. It's 15 feet for our American and Liberian listeners.
And your co-host, me. Jesus Christ.
And a beam connecting the two at the top. Heaved up to the top of this thing is that wooden block. On the bottom of it is that axe head. The person would be secured by the neck between, like, stocks. Like you go to the Renaissance Fair,
I think Mackinac has that.
Yeah, I think
Fort
so.
Mackinac.
You take your picture, like,
yeah, let me out now. You guys let me out now? You're gonna let me out, right? Where you guys going? Ha ha. Crow lands on your shoulder, like, oh shit.
Yeah, see, the reason that I'll save the stocks for later.
Okay.
Those might be in another episode. Well, so you're locked in with your head in there. I assume your hands are tied behind your back at this point.
Were you going to say when you're in the stocks, people are allowed to throw shit at you? Like vegetables and shit? Like,
oh, yeah?
Rotten, yeah. Like you were like, you could be humiliated, I think. It was like, you better hope that fucking guy doesn't get out of there.
That'd be a rough end of the show.
You threw a tomato at me. I had a worm in it. I'll never forget your face. Better hope I don't get out of this.
You're going to bed or walking home at night and you see them waiting on the corner.
You see a guy in stocks and you go up and like freaking tickle party. Fucking guys, stop it, I'm gonna piss. Tickle torture, stockade.
You make him piss himself right before he gets his head chopped off.
Yeah. You see what you did? You made me piss myself.
Boom. Dunk.
Yeah. You make it sound like it falls in slices and so quickly, but this thing sounds like really primitive, like a really primitive version.
Oh yeah, it's not super efficient like later on. As a matter of fact, this device and the others you'll hear about don't even necessarily chop the head off like a guillotine does. Sometimes this giant wooden block with the axe head on it would just crush the person's neck.
Yeah, like it's dull.
Yeah. But it's still
can't cut through.
Extremely heavy and focused on a little blade. It's just like crunch everything.
It's the same as hanging them.
Yeah, I'd rather have my head cut clean off than this bone shat, like having my spine shattered. Yeah, no thank you.
Let me ask, oh my God, it's so awful of a visual. Let me ask you this. What would you rather have, your neck snapped by the dull blade of the gibbet or be hung till you are dead?
Is it a long drop or a dangle?
Like you're on a back of a horse, and then like, whoosh, yeah, and like the horse takes off, and you're like,
crush. I bet it's real fast because I bet it's the sort of crush that also explodes. So yeah, there'd be a couple instances of extremely horrible pain, but it'd be over faster, I think, than dangling there for 5 minutes.
I think while you're dangling, you might have a longer like, hello darkness, my old friend, like a longer moment where you like reflect because you're like, the end is here, but it's not there yet. You'll have that time to like see the light and shit. Otherwise, when it's like, you're just like, so this is it.
See, I don't think there'll ever be a moment like that unless you're like old and sick. Because like if you're getting hanged, okay, so if you get your neck crushed, that's 20 seconds of blind, horrifying pain and terror. If you're hanging until you're dead, that's 5 minutes of blind, horrifying pain and unrelenting terror. I can't imagine it feeling any different. It's just a duration. I don't think there's a moment of peace while you're being hanged to death. I think it's all like horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just freaking crazy. Like
they never get like a wistful look on their face and stare off into the distance.
They always look terrified, don't they? Yeah, every time. Oh boy.
I imagine it hurts real, real bad too.
And then you crap yourself too every time. Just kidding.
Okay, so we've got this giant gibbet over in Halifax, giant wood block, axe head. You release the pressure, that fucking thing comes flying down. Sometimes it cuts off their head. Most of the time, it just crunches it. It was in the middle of the town square on a stage. This thing, yeah, it is designed to inspire fear in you.
Yeah?
Yeah, very clearly. It's still there. So you could, either go to there and see it or just look up the picture. And you can look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this, let this be a reminder to all ye criminals. Ye that try to steal that from thou shall face ye. That's how they talked back then.
Yes, they did.
That's what my dialect coach told me.
Old English is unreadable. It's ridiculous. It's almost insane to think that we are somehow, in a way, speaking the same language as those people.
But Old English, 40 ounces, very drinkable. This segment of Dinner and Hell's been brought to you by Old English Malt Liquor. The malt liquor of podcasts. Or something like that. I don't know if I read that right. I don't know if they're going to pay us now.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Scotland doesn't get off the hook. They have a history with automatic beheading too. We're going to go back to 1564 and a device constructed for the provost and magistrates of Edinburgh, allegedly inspired directly by the Halifax gibbet. This device was in use in Edinburgh from 1564 all the way until 1710. And it's still around. You can go to the National Museum of Scotland and take a look at the Maiden.
Oh, yeah. Finally I get my own frickin' mention of my namesake. We
found it.
We did the Impaler, Vlad the Impaler for Brad. And we found out the Iron Maiden was not a real device that was used on people. It was more like a conversation art piece.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, finally I have a legit, I think it's called the Scottish Maiden, right?
It's just called the Maiden.
Yeah, but it's in Scotland.
Yeah, and people don't know that your original name in your family before they came to Ellis Island was McMaiden.
Right.
Yeah.
They were like, it's too long. Mm-hmm. We're going to cut the Mick off and make it Maiden.
Yeah. That's where, yeah. So this is, I mean, I assume maybe there's a time traveler that went back and invented it there.
Maybe it was me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Surprise on your 80th episode, bro. What? Who is this? Click. What? It sounded like me. I'm talking to myself. The Maiden.
Yeah, we did it. We found it.
Party.
That gets us up to where we need to be, the invention of the guillotine. This is the brainchild of physician Joseph Ignace Guillotine and German engineer Tobias Schmidt.
Guillotine's like, he's like, they were working on it together the whole way. Mm-hmm. And then right when they got to the very end, before they like signed the patent and shit, they filed for the patent with Franz government. And he's like, first he's like had his partner, he's like, put your head in here, just see if it fits, just start. And he like did, he was like, swing. He's like, now it's called guillotine. Yeah. You're out.
I veto that, motherfucker.
I fucking made it myself. I don't know where my partner went. He went down on holiday. He says he's going on holiday. I don't know. It's crazy.
He'll be going all summer.
It's like Paul Allen, American Psycho.
Paul Allen.
Ciao. Arrivederci. Hasta la vista. That's what he says to Patrick Bateman, leaving the answering machine. Hey, I'm going to London for a few days. Hasta la vista, baby. Because Terminator just came out or something.
Good film. Quality film.
The movie's amazing.
So, on October 10th, 1789, Guillotine proposed to the National Assembly that capital punishment should always take the form of a decapitation. You know, no matter what class you are, everybody gets the same death penalty. You know, the part of their motto, liberté, égalité. It's the égalité part. So, in response to this, because of the public outcry, King Louis XVI banned breaking on the wheel, which is what they were usually executing common people with. And after that, with the French Revolution sort of on the horizon and going on, they commissioned a new development for the most humane way to execute people, automatically by beheading.
Right.
Yeah, this is progress. We're getting better.
Yeah. We're not just walling them in.
Yeah. There's no torture involved in the use of a guillotine. Well, not much. A little bit. So a committee was formed by King Louis XVI, which is it's pretty ironic that he's on this committee. But he, as a matter of fact, on this committee, used his own neck as a measurement while they were designing. Like, he was saying, like, hey, we got to go with this kind of... you see, we have got to go with this kind of blade. This guillotine is...
laser cut.
You see, the necks... a man has a different size neck than a woman, and different men have different size necks.
I got friggin' Sacha Baron Cohen in here with me, or what?
So we have to have the oblique blade. The crescent blade, it is, how do you say, will not chop off the heads of these different sized necks.
Dankeschön.
Oh, Tobias, my assistant. We are constructing the prototype.
What are we gonna call it?
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not sure if my French accent's any good.
Fine, you're rolling. What do we call it?
How about we call it Schmittertin?
Oh, why? I don't think I want to have my. All of a sudden, I have an accent. I don't think I want to have my name attached to this device.
Okay, we will call it the Guillotine. I will be famous. I don't care what you think. Tobias Schmidt, get out of here!
Jesus.
I'm done with you. If you are not proud to have this device, this prototype, fitting your name, all you made was a blade anyway. The design was mine.
You're hurting my arm, Brad. You realize that? Let me go.
Who is this? Brad, I am Joseph.
That's right.
Ignace Guillotine, and you will leave this place.
Safe word. I forgot the safe word. Our show safe word. Whenever Brad gets out of hand, I'm supposed to say something, then he knows to snap out like I can't take anymore.
Yeah, I'm a method actor, like Robert Downey Jr.
Well, I'm glad he's snapped now, but whew,
I'm back.
He gets deep.
Scene.
Yeah. Whew. Okay, so there are two guys working on the guillotine, designing the guillotine together.
One's name ends up on it. So, this is cleanly slicing heads off. The fucker is, everyone's looking at it, they're like, this looks great. The committee couldn't be more pleased with the prototype. The angled blade is working exactly like everybody thought it would. It's clean slices. Doesn't matter neck size. Boom. Head in the bucket every time. Well, they haven't tested it on a human being until April 25th, 1792, in front of what is now City Hall in Paris. Highwayman Nicolas Jacques Pelletier was executed by means of guillotine. And it was a spectacular success. Couldn't have gone off cleaner, without a hitch. Snap, boom, head in the bucket, over and done with. Everybody loved it.
Bucket has big Ace Hardware on the side. Big white bucket.
These sponsorships.
$1.99.
Ace Hardware.
$1.99. 5-gallon buckets all the time. Like everyday price.
Head buckets.
This segment was brought to you by Ace Hardware. Okay, you guys, we've been freaking taking sponsor offers. We're testing them out.
Yeah, so if you like that Ace Hardware social media team, go ahead and tweet at us. Dinner and Hell Pod. What up?
If you want us to mention your business in the form of conversation, contact us via social media.
So before the guillotine comes into play, we are talking inexperienced headsmen taking 3 chops. We are talking breaking at the wheel, which was the number one way this shit was going down in France. We're talking burning at the stake, death by suffocation, nasty, nasty stuff. So this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Suffocation? Grab them.
Drownings?
We haven't done suffocation.
No, we haven't.
We have another execution method coming for you guys down the road. It's called suffocation.
I honestly think they're somehow never going to end.
Execution methods?
I mean, theoretically, there's a limit, but I don't know if we're anywhere near it because this is episode 80, and I haven't had trouble finding a new one yet.
Okay.
They just keep coming, man. It's sad, but it's also fucking dope. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, after this point, until France outlaws the death penalty altogether, the guillotine is the only legal execution method in France. Well, for civil infractions. In the military, they still used a firing squad.
For what infractions?
Civil infractions. It was only guillotine allowed until France abolished the death penalty.
And then what was firing squad?
Military.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get convicted by a military court. Now, where this has its real heyday is in the French Revolution. We can't get too into the weeds on this one because this is complicated like we've never touched before.
Oh, really? It's its own episode?
Oh, I don't even know if we can do it, really. We might have to take specific stuff out of it. It is complicated.
Okay.
Well, so the French Revolution and the guillotine, it's like the point in the guillotine's NBA career where they, like Bill Russell and the Celtics from 59 to 66, were winning 8 NBA championships back to back.
Against who?
That's not their fault. You can only play against who's up against you. You could say, what if Bill Russell had modern day training techniques? He would be even better than he was then. It goes both ways, baby.
He's thought this through, as you can tell. You can see BT sitting in like an airport just dwelling on freaking Bill Russell arguments.
Imagine if he
got something for everything.
Imagine if Bill Russell could play a Nike Russells instead of like
Chuck
a pair of cardboard strapped to his feet, fucking garbage ass shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like what I'm saying is the guillotine's one of the all-time greats, indisputably.
As far as pain-free, I mean not pain-free, but quick.
And like star, like it shined bright, like it blazed with like a furious glory for a little while.
Yeah.
The period of time that really factors in here, June 1793 to July 1794, called by historians either the Reign of Terror or simply the Terror. Literally thousands of people executed via guillotine in Paris over a little more than a year.
Yeah.
Do the math on that. That's multiples every single day.
Yeah. They would run them hourly. They go, next up at 1 o'clock, we have a treasonous son of a bitch you're never going to forget.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, you can watch this guy's head bounce down these stairs. $3, 3 rubles for the front seat. Francs.
I don't know if you had to pay to stand there. I think it was like first come, first serve, but there were vendors selling food
Shirts.
and shit.
Foam hands.
Yeah.
Light up swords.
They did have programs. If you wanted to go hang out and watch the guillotine get used on somebody, you could buy a list and everyone's name and their crime that day, so you could follow along.
Wonder if you can find those online.
I bet you could.
Oh, I want to see it. Sounds cool. This son of a bitch, he was known to steal horses, and he punched a man square in the face. He's going to die tonight, 7 p.m. on the hour.
Good. This is mostly the brainchild of one of the leaders of the French Revolution, Maximilien Robespierre. He's a member of the Jacobins, very prominent figure in the French Revolution. And these are his words explaining why this was necessary. If the basis of popular government in peacetime is virtue, the basis of popular government during a revolution is both virtue and terror. Virtue, without which terror is baneful. Terror, without which virtue is powerless. Terror is nothing more than speedy, severe, and inflexible justice. It is thus an emanation of virtue. It is less a principle in itself than a consequence of the general principle of democracy applied to the most pressing needs of the homeland. So, like, we're doing this. We're going to be terrorists because it's swift and flexible justice. Because this is wartime. Yeah. That's basically his justification for this.
Yeah.
Now, these beheadings were not only public, but were hands down the most widely appealing form of entertainment in the country.
Oh my God. I've got a freaking detail that you probably didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
There was these freaking women. They were known as a morbid group of women that would sit next to the structure that the guillotine is on, the stage, and they would knit in between beheadings.
That is like, what is it? Hashtag Woman Crush Wednesdays?
Tricoteuses. Tricoteuses, I think is the pronunciation. It's French. And
I like that. It reminds me of like Morticia Adams.
Also, like you said, it being super popular, they would also have children's toys, like the 2-foot tall guillotine. I don't know if you want to convert that to meters real quick. Grab your calculator, Google Translate. But there was toys for kids to have at their home to play with, and they were known to use. This is the 1790s. They were known to use them to behead, decapitate dolls, small rodents. Like their pets, squirrels.
What the fuck?
Rabbits. I mean,
so everyone in everyone in 17th century France is Jeffrey Dahmer, is what you're telling me?
So they're saying some towns banned them because they were out of fear that they might influence the kids like viciously.
Jesus Christ! And people thought lawn darts were bad.
This is off of history.com. They had some facts, and also. Novelty guillotines found their way into the upper classes dinner tables, where they were used as bread and vegetable slicers. Like, oh, this home has a guillotine. Ooh.
Now
we have to get a guillotine.
You simply raise the elegant handle of the dinner guillotine, place your French bread in there, and simply release the handle, dropping the blade and cutting the bread's fucking head off.
I'm going to pretend that this cucumber committed treason. God damn it. Look at it. Just look at its face. Look on its cucumber face. Oh, boy.
Well, we've been saying a lot about revolution, right? Well, what is a revolution? It's the replacement of one social order or civic form of government with another, generally. Sometimes it's just a swap in the leaders, but I think those are sort of quasi-revolutions. Here, France has a monarchy. Louis XVI is the divinely ordained king. So how do you end that? You kill him.
And his wife.
And his wife. the famous Queen Marie Antoinette. She was called by the common people Madame Deficit, as they blamed France's financial woes on her resistance to reforms and her insanely lavish spending.
She used to ride a horse one day and have it killed that night and just take a new horse every day. I mean, she lived like, she just threw money away.
And she had no idea what the hell was going on. I mean, famously, they asked her, like, why are the people, like, rioting? Like, because they're hungry. And she's like, why don't they just eat cake? Like, she doesn't even get it. She's out of touch.
They're stupid.
Yeah.
They don't have wine and cake out there.
Food.
Yeah.
Isn't there just food everywhere for everyone?
Have some horse meat. Fresh every night. Take your pick. Rib, brick and hoof, whatever.
So Louis the 16th, it's designer. Much like Phalaris eventually finding his way into the brazen bowl. Louis the 16th gets his head cut off by it. And not only is that a foreshadow complete, that's also a foreshadow again.
What?
This theme continues.
Foreshadow.
Yeah, the queen and king were in house arrest for 2 years, not allowed to leave the palace, after which they had a 2-day trial, and then off with their heads. Right there, same guillotine that was killing common traders, got the blood of royalty.
The king's like, you at least wipe it down for my royal neck.
No. Getting your head cut off with the commoner blood still. Which is just, that's kind of cool. Come on.
My blood touches his blood, bro.
Yeah, the problem with the terror, though, is that it wasn't just like, you end a monarchy, they just have to die. There's just no way around it. They do. They had it good for long enough. It's okay that the line ends like this. You know what I mean? They got to live their whole life as like the owner of a country. Fuck off. I don't care that they died. They deserve it. So yeah, but the problem is it wasn't just the king and the queen that got put to death in the terror. To go into this is like would be describing a whole season of Game of Thrones, so I'm not even going to try. But eventually Robespierre turns on his own, like, on different factions within his own political party, basically. Once he starts trying to purge all the people who disagree with him. You can't do that. He got a little guillotine happy, I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He started just being like, and you get a guillotine, and you get a guillotine, and you get a guillotine, and just, that's going to blow back on you, Robespierre. Bruh, you can't do that. Yeah, so much like the Brazen Bull, again, bringing this kind of violence into the world ends up coming along with a sort of live by the sword, die by the sword type of wrap-up. The Reign of Terror ends when Robespierre himself is imprisoned for the crime of, you guessed it, high treason. Same thing as the king and the queen got sentenced with. And down comes the guillotine, and just like anybody else's, his head rolls down the steps or into the bucket or whatever the hell happened.
Yeah, they set up a whole, what is that machine called? A device?
A Rube Goldberg device.
Yeah. Quack, quack. Toot, toot.
The hen lays an egg, and Robespierre's head turns the fryer on.
The fan blows.
You have a fried egg.
The fan blows the duckling across the bucket of water, tub of water. The sail on it.
I bet you that would have been a fucking hit at these public guillotinings. There it is. Finally, foreshadowing ended. Finally complete.
Those freaking guys that like work the guillotine, their family names they were like stars, and people would chant their name like in the streets.
Yeah.
I found that I think on history.com too.
That's nuts. I didn't see. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one thing about Robespierre's execution that I got to get in here. The night before his like trial, he thought he was going to be found guilty. He attempted suicide with a pistol. It didn't work, though. He just completely destroyed his own jaw.
He went from the bottom, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so that happened. Boom. And then the next day, he was then guillotined.
He had to spend all night in agony. They were like, this guy won't stop bleeding.
Yep.
Half his face is gone.
Well, better guillotine him. At least that makes more sense. I always think it's weird when the United States, it's like, oh, we're gonna execute this guy, but he's sick, so we have to make sure he gets better before we execute him. Why?
I don't know.
I
They just did it. I heard because they were sick of hearing him screaming all night. They're like, God damn it, just give him the guillotine. God damn it, will you please? I want to sleep. The town wants to sleep.
I bet the sounds he was making couldn't be described as screams.
Squealing gurgles.
Squealing gurgles is probably pretty close to what it would be like.
In the execution business, it's known as a squirgle.
Squirgle.
Hashtag squirgle.
Hashtag squirgle.
Welcome squirgle fans.
I wonder if that's already a thing. It's definitely going to the hashtags, though. So after this, it got toned way down, but it was not out of style entirely. The last public use of the guillotine in France was for the execution of Eugen Weidmann. This occurred on June 17th, 1939. He was a serial killer who murdered people for money. He would basically like lure people away, charm young women, then kill them and take all their shit.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, this is pretty recent, 1939, and as a matter of fact, British actor, then 17 years old, Christopher Lee, was witness to this execution by guillotine in Paris. He saw it from his hotel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I wonder if that informed his like path in life, playing like Dracula and shit.
I'm gonna be a Sith Lord one day. And a freaking white wizard.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see. Fire full.
No, that was not
Gandalf. That's Gandhi.
He was Saruman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gandalf was the Grey Wizard. He wasn't
Saruman
the white
the
one.
gray. Saruman the white.
Saruman the white, but
Yeah,
then
that's what I meant.
Saruman gets stripped of it when Gandalf becomes white. Because Saruman betrayed them. Then we get to see Radagast and the Hobbit. And, all right, we got to snap back to this guillotine. Now, evidently, this event was so scandalous in the behavior of the mob of Paris that the government was like, yeah, we got to stop doing this outside. We got to take this hidden. We're going behind closed doors with we're not doing public executions anymore.
Because of the bugs?
No, the people like were going fucking crazy, like screaming and hollering and getting drunk and yeah, like they were just like they were like, oh man, if we do this, it might rile them up enough to like tear the fucking city down. Like it was like close to a riot, is how it was sort of described.
Pissing in the streets.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It has been used 3 times since then, though. In 1976, Christian Ranucci, who was convicted of the abduction and murder of an 8-year-old girl, was put to death.
Good.
The very next year, it was used again to execute another murderer of an 8-year-old girl, Jerome Caron. The 70s were a dangerous time to be an 8-year-old girl in France. Same year, 77. So it got used 3 times since 1939, and it was all in 76 and 77.
Wow.
But yeah, in 1977, and all 3 of these times, like, my parents were alive when they were guillotining people.
1975, I was born.
Yeah, you were alive while they were still using the
Fuck
guillotine
yeah,
on
I was
people.
part of the guillotine generation.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. Can't you tell by my demeanor?
Well, it was used in 77 on Hamida Jandubi, who had kidnapped and tortured and murdered a 22-year-old woman.
Gross.
Yeah. France banned the death penalty in 81, so no one's gotten it there since then. But it was guillotines up until the end.
Yeah.
You mentioned the guillotine generation.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, I may have been in that generation too, because in 1996, a U.S. politician introduced a bill to make the guillotine the official execution device for the United States to use. In 96.
Oh, wow. He's like, fuck this lethal injection shit. We save money. It won't cost us a penny. Just for the cost of materials. We have a guy that can build it. We're gonna have the first victim build it.
Oh.
Christen it.
I'd be like, yeah. And it just somehow opens up and like an escape for me. Like Iron Man style.
Yeah, I'm still working on it, you guys. Just put the food under the door.
I need absolute privacy. I got 4 inches to go.
What is he building? I don't know. I can't see.
He just keeps handing us all these little chunks of rock. We don't know where he's getting them.
Escape from Alcatraz?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with him, though. It's probably better than the electric chair, that's for sure.
Cost of energy.
Yeah, boom.
And the smell.
That's muscle power winding it up before you let the rope go.
Yep.
Well, guess who else used it? Fucking Nazis.
Yep. Frickin' students.
Yeah, during the Third Reich, some 16,500 prisoners were executed via guillotine, including Hans and Sophie Scholl, which I think they're dope. They were members of the student organization, the White Rose, passing out peace flyers.
Nazi information.
Yeah, a wholesome activity if I ever
In
heard
Munich.
One. Yep.
Yeah.
University of Munich.
Hitler was like, you better shut them up. Grab that guillotine. Put it in the middle of the mall. It was line them up.
Right there next to the Orange Julius.
Next to the Easter Bunny freaking line.
Oh, man. Now, did you know that a guillotine was used one time in North America?
Really?
Yes. In pretty recently, too. In 1889, on the French island of Saint Pierre, which is off the coast of Newfoundland. Yeah, it was used to execute the Basque-born assassin. This is quite a name. So, Carlos Zuzaregi. I think.
Sounds like Newfoundland to me. Is that what this was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I could tell by the name.
Yeah. Now, you may have heard and wondered why I haven't brought up yet what happens to the head when it's cut off. There's a lot of curiosity surrounding that.
They shrink it.
Could be done.
They remove the skull. They stitch it up.
Yeah,
Fill it with sand.
Shrinking could certainly be done. It could be used as a soccer ball.
Sure. Chile or Venezuela or something.
Yeah.
Referee's head.
Bump hips, maybe. Or, you can play it with a head, maybe. Big old paddles.
Today we play bump hips. Was that Mackinaw's game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mackinac Massacre mentioned 2 episodes in a row.
You could probably play a game of golf with it.
Yeah, if you're Shaq. 4.
Boom.
4.
Well, it'd have to be more like throwing it, like disc golf, but with just a head.
Hi, this is Shaquille O'Neal.
That's
When
a
I
pretty
play
good
golf-
Shaq.
When I play golf, I play with a human head. Because that's the ratio to my body as it would be for a common golf ball to Mr. Tiger Woods.
Yeah, it's like fucking. It's like, have you ever seen that picture of Andre the Giant with that can of beer? Now there's one where Shaq like eats like a hot pepper or something, and he grabs like a bottle of water, like a normal size like Ice Mountain bottle of water, and it's like holy shit. It looks like one of those little tiny ones.
His shoe was like a 22. Mine's a 13.
Yeah, it's
His is
unreal.
22.
Everything's got to be custom. Oh, 7 feet tall. Now, how tall is Ben Wallace? Do you know off the top of your
6'10"
head?
maybe.
I saw him, and it was like seeing a giant. It was like unreal when you see like a pro, like an NBA center, not around around normies. It's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. Like you're 6'4". I don't know how, but the difference between 6'4" and 6'10" is a big difference.
Yeah. But the funny thing for me, since I'm big, is like if I see a pro wrestler in person, it's funny because they're like my size. Like they're not all 7 feet. They're all like 6 foot.
Yeah.
Because they look more muscular because they're shorter.
That's like people forget.
Well, Hogan was like a little bit taller than me, I think.
Maybe. There's a lot of them that are like 6, like like your Canes and Undertakers are real big.
6'7".
Big Show's 7 feet, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like Stone Cold Steve Austin's probably like 6'1".
They exaggerate it, you know.
Oh yeah.
To make him seem more.
Shoot him from like the way down low.
But they'll just say instead of 6'5", they'll say 6'7". You know, they'll just pump it up.
Yeah, I think I was listed on my high school
6'11".
football roster as like 6'2", like 225. Like okay.
Yeah.
Fuck, I had something good for that. God damn it. I need to remember it too.
Must not have been too good.
No, it was. It was.
Oh man. How much longer?
Probably like 10 minutes. This wasn't weird. I was talking shit. This wasn't enough. All I have left is the quote about the.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I got that recent one to wrap it.
Yeah. So it should be good. But I really want to. Fuck. What the hell did I want? God damn it. It was so funny. How'd that conversation just go?
Height. Real life. Pro players. Pro wrestlers. How tall they were. Steve Austin.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't that good because that should have jarred my memory. Damn. I need a drink, though. It's starting to get too scratchy.
Oh, I want to wrap this because I want to just wrap it and piss.
All right.
But I got to say something. I thought I saw this in your notes, but the very first execution with the machine was a guy named Ballagh, Ballagh, who was like Irish. That's why I was saying the Irish shit to you, and you weren't like, no, you weren't like going with what I was saying. You were like, I don't know what you're saying.
Oh yeah, that was one that was written about in a history in Ireland.
Yeah,
that's how we know it was at use there. I may have chopped that out because these were, but I thought they were too long.
I was just gonna say that took place on April 1st. That was like a fun fact. April Fool's Day. Like, April Fools, you're gonna die today.
Do you think he thought he was getting out of it?
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was in there. I must have just saw it like on the facts thing, you know.
I remember what I brought up but never delivered on.
Go ahead.
You wonder what happens to the head. You think that's a clean chop, right?
Right.
So your brain is still 100% intact.
Yeah.
What is exactly experienced by the person who get their heads cut off? You can't ask somebody without a head.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Maybe. Because the following was reported by one physician, Dr. Barreau, with the decapitated head of the condemned man Henry Langeal. The eyelids and lips of the guillotine man worked in irregularly rhythmic contractions for about 5 or 6 seconds. He had the head, chopped it off, landed in the bucket, and he quick ran up there and picked it up, turned it around, and looked him in the face. This is what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
It was then that I called in a strong, sharp voice, Langeal! I saw the eyelids slowly lift up like people awakened or torn from their thoughts. So, at least according to this doctor, he is alive and awake, while being just a head, no body.
Running out of oxygen.
Yeah. Next, Languille's eyes very definitely fixed themselves on mine, and the pupils focused themselves. I was dealing with undeniably living eyes, which were looking at me. After several seconds, the eyelids closed again. That... Can you imagine going through that?
Which part? Him or the guy's head?
Just holding a head. Yeah, either one.
The guy's like dying, looking him in the face.
Or being like, holy fuck, my body's gone. I can still see.
Yeah.
Like, Kai called my name. And then it was at that point that I called out again. And once more, without any spasm, slowly the eyelids lifted and undeniably living eyes fixed themselves on mine, with perhaps even more penetration than the first time. Then there was a further closing of the eyelids, but now less complete. I attempted the effect of a third call. There was no further movement, and the eyes took on the glazed look which they have in the dead. That shit is metal as hell.
With the glaze of the eyes of the dead. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
God damn. You're absolutely right, though. Being on either side of that experiment would have been fucking crazy.
Yeah. Remember we did an episode where the guy was dying and they did like a code. Which episode was it? It was a medical episode where he was like, oh, this is the code, like blink twice for yes and once for no. Like,
oh yeah.
As soon as the guy was killed, he was like, like Morse code answers with his eyes until he died. What was that?
Was it in Lacusta? Was it a poisoning?
I think it was like bloodletting or something.
That may have been.
Yeah.
I know. I remember talking about it, but I cannot place it.
So many episodes. 80.
Feels good.
That's an arsenal.
Guillotines keep going on, maybe even a little bit more recent than we'd think, don't they?
I found a freaking example of one from 2007. A Michigan man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shit.
In 2007.
2007?
It's just like not too long ago.
Not at all.
A Michigan man was discovered several days after setting up his own mechanism in a wooded area behind a local business. This is from Listverse. Groundskeepers discovered his body after smelling odor from the man's decaying remains. You smell that?
Smells like decaying remains.
I smell a guillotine. Holy shit, there's a body by it.
I'll never forget the scent of that fine wood grain.
There was another one that was in there. I didn't take the info down, but I remember reading it. And this guy tried doing that to himself. He tried guillotining himself at home, but it malfunctioned. He was found in his bedroom dead from the injury. Probably got his neck broke or gouged out, but it was a saw blade.
Or what if it like went halfway in and it didn't kill you and you weren't bleeding to death, but now you can't get up?
Yeah, now you're just bleeding out like jugular.
Yeah, but you die from like starvation because you can't get up or thirst.
They found him in his bedroom dead, and his house had been like electronically rigged to 10 Molotov cocktails around his house. Like he opened the door, yeah, but they didn't go off.
Oh, that's fucked up.
You can look that one up yourself. Guillotine facts or history of or something.
Man, that's fucking crazy. What kind of crazy do you have to be to set up a guillotine like just in the neighborhood? Not like in your own home, I kind of get it, but in the neighborhood? It's like, yeah, I'm going to go behind the Shake Shack and yeah, I got a guillotine back there. I can cut my own head off.
Go behind service merchandise. In the tall grass. Yeah.
That's all I got for guillotine.
Shoot, that's all I got. I'm looking for suggestions from you, the listener at home.
I do have one suggestion for you. Have you heard the latest episode of Video Store Rewind?
No, I have not yet.
It's good. It's on Blank Man. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Damon Wayans, David Allen Greer. He's got a robot named J5, superhero.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, it's worth your time. It's no Major Pain, but it's a pretty good Damon Wayans film.
Yeah.
Can't forget about Shakecast either. Did they ever change their name?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I haven't been listening. Not to anybody. I don't. Sometimes I don't listen. I'm sure it goes around. I mean,
yeah,
can't listen to every freaking episode.
It gets busy.
Yeah, you know, if I were to listen to a podcast, it would be theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could you listen to this band?
Oh, the roar of the crowd.
Incredible. Do you have suggestions for us? Hit us up on Twitter at Dinner and Hell Pod. We're on SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook. Still not Instagram. Still not. I tried and something went wrong. I don't know what the fuck.
I don't know if I'll be able to sleep tonight.
It's not gonna happen.
I was counting on that news.
It's still on the table. There might be in the future. Thank you and have a good night.